Hello, everybody. Welcome to Coffee with Craig. It is Sunday, October 29th. Today, we're going to talk about something that's really exciting, and that is a victory in the protection of the Second Amendment. As you know, Firearms Policy Coalition was one of the first organizations to come out in opposition to a number of these bans of semi-automatic rifle parts and accessories. Now, everyone calls them bump stock bans, but the problem is that these bills do not just ban bump stocks. They ban any firearm part or accessory that could potentially increase the rate of fire, or at least as they define it, the rate of fire of a semi-automatic rifle. Now, that includes bump stocks, at least in their eyes, but it also includes certain triggers, certain trigger groups, certain accessories that could be added, like, rubber bands, bungee cords, or even belt loops, or even your finger, if properly used, can allow one to bump fire. So it really is such, these pieces of legislation are so overtly far-reaching and excessive that even some Democrats are starting to see the problem with the legislation that's being proposed. So one such bill that was proposed was actually in the state of Illinois. Their HB 4117, and now this bill has been taken up and was actually defeated. Now, the interesting thing about this bill is that even Democrats came out against it. In fact, there was one particular member, Representative Jerry Costello. He's a Democrat. He called the bill too far-reaching because he said that it would ban any modification that accelerates the rate of fire, such as changing a spring or replacing a trigger. He said, quote, "I don't view this as a bump stock ban. I view this as a ban on 40 to 50% of the guns in the state," Costello said. "This bill would have turned people who modify firearms into lawbreakers." And that's the exact point that this next Representative Skillicorn made, I felt, so eloquently on the floor of their legislature. Check out the video here real quick.
Representative, I occasionally shoot in competitions, typically like an IDPA timed competition, where we try to shoot targets and we're timed, and the person with the highest accuracy and the fastest time wins. If I took one of my weapons to a gunsmith and said, hey, I want to do this trigger modification, I want to put a buffer in there, I want to change something with the recoil, would I be in violation of the bill?
Again, this bill addresses nothing that has legal trigger modifications. So if you are installing a legal trigger modification, that's acceptable.
That sounds vague to me. Does that sound vague to you?
No. Read the bill. It only prohibits modification devices which accelerate the rate of fire of that of a machine gun.
So I have the bill in front of me here,
okay.
and I see language like trigger modification device means any part, combination of parts designed or intended to accelerate the rate of fire. I also go further on. It specifically says does not convert the firearm into a machine gun, included but not limited to. But I see quite a bit of information there. And to the bill, this sounds awfully vague to me. This sounds like some weapons that I own may be in violation of this. And I want to point out to the members of the General Assembly, maybe not everybody shoots all the time or owns a whole cache of weapons, but I want to let people know that quite a few of our constituents in every single one of our districts, they own weapons. So I think of one very popular pistol, a 1911 pistol, very, very popular. Every single one of our districts have constituents that own this pistol. It's very common to change the trigger on this weapon. You can make it a lighter draw. You can change the length of the draw. As I read the language of this bill, it sounds awfully like a modification that could increase the rate of fire. That would mean that we are making many of our own constituents felons. Another very popular handgun is a revolver. Revolvers, due to the way they work, due to their action, they have a very heavy trigger pull. It's very common to change the trigger pull action, the weight on a revolver. It could have to do with your stature, like the gentleman from Southern Illinois said, but also what you prefer, how you like to deal with recoil and such. This is a very common modification, and doing so would make our constituents felons. Every single one of our districts, except for maybe a few, probably have people that do gunsmithing work. People who install these aftermarket triggers to actually do small little modifications of how the action works. It might be to improve reliability, but also might have a side benefit of firing a little faster in competition, or it's just a user's preference. These gunsmiths would become felons. This bill is vague, people. It doesn't address what we're scared of. This has gone too far. We need to vote this down. I urge a no vote. I would actually love if the sponsor would actually just pull this legislation.
So there you have it. And I think it's real simple. So what you had was you had an author who clearly didn't know what he was talking about. And then you had a member who stood up, who spoke to the bill, who clearly knew what he was talking about. And common sense and logic, when you know what you're talking about, obviously won out the day, and won out the day at least with one Democrat, Mr. Jerry Costello, and evidently with a number of other legislators who voted against this bill. Now, that's the good news. The bad news is that there are still 4 anti-gun bump stock bans, or at least long gun, firearm accessory and parts ban bills in the Illinois legislature. There's SB 2247, HB 4140, HB 4107, HB 4112. Why are there so many bills? Because everyone, once again, what's the Chicago model? Don't let a good tragedy go to waste. Quoted by who? Former presidential chief of staff and mayor of Chicago, Rahm Emanuel. So clearly in the state of Illinois, they're not going to let a good tragedy go to waste. They're going to try and find a way to get some good PR out of banning gun parts. And once again, keep in mind, you guys know this. It's not just about banning the parts. They eventually want to ban semi-automatic rifles. And then they want to ban rifles. And then they want to ban all firearms. That's the direction they're going. I know people out there right now, there's people who are on the other side who are saying, oh, there he goes again. He's saying they're going to ban guns. Nobody says they want to ban guns. Look, you all have already been, you folks on your side have already been exposed. Yes, they've already admitted it. There's tons of recordings and articles all over the internet pointing out that, yes, they want to ban guns, period. They want to eliminate private ownership of firearms. They want to infringe on our right to be able to keep and bear arms. And guess what? Ain't gonna happen. Anyway, so folks, that's it for today's Coffee with Craig. Thank you guys so much for tuning in once again and for taking the time to tune in on a Sunday. I know you guys have a lot of stuff that you guys could be doing, and you decided to take a few minutes and share it with us. We greatly appreciate it. Please do us a favor though, take a minute, share this video with your friends on Facebook, on YouTube. Let folks know what it is that we're doing here at the Firearms Policy Coalition. Because we don't just do these fun videos talking about policy and talking about what's going on in the news. We also do a lot of call to actions and fire missions. We need your help with those. So once again, thank you for being involved. Thank you for staying involved, and thank you for spreading the word. You guys enjoy the rest of your weekend. Have fun and stay free.
If you like our videos, follow, subscribe, like, and share.